Alright, we're going to jump back over to Photoshop. I'm going to close this, minimize that. Jump back over to Photoshop, and I'm going to grab my Wacom tablet for this last part. And give this a quick test to make sure it's working. Okay, there we go. Okay, and now I'm going to go back in here and I'm just going to tighten some of this up. For this step, what I'm going to do is flatten most of the image. And I did have some problems with the placement of a few of these objects. If you'll remember, early on, these areas over here are overlapping. So I wanted to tackle those also over in Max real quick. And if I hop over here to my layout, let's take a look in there. And actually they're not overlapping. Okay. I think everything is alright. It's not overlapping. Alright, my mistake. Back over to Photoshop. I thought I left those overlapping on purpose, and I didn't. So the first thing I can do now, I'm going to flatten this all down, and I'm just going to clone out a few of these areas. I'm using my Wacom tablet now. Holding down Shift, draw a straight line. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to just clone out some areas in these sections that are the same. So if you remember, this board here is the same as this one, is the same as that one. And I'm just going to get rid of some of these elements by cloning them out. Just enough to make it look different. There's some stains here. And that'll make them look a little bit different. There we go. Same down here. I'm going to clone out a few of these areas just to give it some different stains. For instance, this box here can have a lighter side over here. Just kind of using what's there. Same with this one. We'll clone out this area. Anything that looks like it might be noticeable. There we go. And here I'm going to get rid of this little sign and just kind of clone in a light area over here. And with the Wacom tablet, you can see I can kind of blend this in really easily because I'm using my pressure on the Wacom tablet to just kind of blend it. Do the same thing up here. We'll get rid of this writing. And we'll do the same thing over here. I want to keep that little metal piece there though. And we'll mess it up just enough so it looks like it's a little bit different. That looks pretty good. And we did miss this little piece right here that we pointed out in the video. And we want to make sure that we get rid of all of the pink lines, because that means we can see part of the model, or the UVs aren't quite right. There we go. get a few purple lines or pink lines over here. A few down here. Clone them out. So get rid of all those pink lines. You can see here I'm even cloning in from the background, which is fine since it's a close match to our box. Alright, we've gotten rid of most of the purple now. There we go. Okay. And now I'm going to go back to my different little woods that I had here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly clone out these board sections. You'll see why here in a second. I don't want those harsh lines. I'm just using the clone brush real quick. You can also use the patch tool if you wanted to. So I could grab a section, move it, and just let it blend. If you're using patch, make sure transparent is turned off. And I'll just blend in some of these areas, getting rid of these harsh dark areas. Patch tool's great for this. And I'm not really trying to keep it neat because it's going to blend for the most part. Now I'm going to take this and I'm just going to plop this whole piece over here on top of my map. Hit scale just to fit it correctly. There we go. And then I'm going to go through my different layers here and look for something that might work. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can see that's with, without, and with. And that works pretty well, so I'm going to drop the fill amount down on that. And you can see again, without and with. Not much difference, but it's enough to kind of mess up those areas that looked the same. I'm not going to use that map. That one's a bit harsh. This one will probably work alright. And again, I'm going to use my patch tool. I'm just going to grab these sections here and patch over them. I'm really not trying to be too careful. It's not going to matter in the long run. I'm getting rid of the knots because the scale's probably going to be wrong on those. And the little nails aren't going to do me much good. There we go. And I'm just going to grab this area that I just cloned. We'll copy that. We'll paste it. I'm going to transform it by rotating it just so my lines line up with most of my objects. And we'll hit scale. Just scale this guy down. And we'll go through our layers again, looking for something that works. Overlay is probably going to be the one that works. I'm hitting the up and down arrows on my keyboard. You can see pin light works pretty well in that it's giving me some different options. I think I'm going to go up here to soft light, looks good, and overlay isn't, or multiply isn't bad. You can see I can drop the fill down and then go over to image and hit brightness contrast and just brighten the image up. And that's with it and that's without. And you can see it adds some wear and tear onto this pretty quickly. The only thing I'm going to erase out is I don't want this piece right here cutting across, so it's going to mess with the grain if I have this cutting across this one. And same with this layer. I'm just going to, I don't want that grain cutting across there. Alright, that's pretty good. So that's not bad. Now I'm going to just deal with some of these areas that are the chamfered areas. And if you remember, down here I believe was the top of the box. If I remember right, I think it's right here in the top. So I'm going to grab those areas. Right there. And I'm just going to lighten them in a new layer. I'm just going to fill that with white because I want them light so it looks like they're catching the light. I put it on color dodge, that particular layer, and then I'm just going to knock down the fill amount so that those areas are going to be a little bit lighter. That's what we want. And then I'm looking at this and I want to take on the boards here, if I remember right, I believe it was, I'm using white still, and I think right along here, let me go back to Max and double check this. I'm looking for these edges right here. My select button, okay. Right there. What am I? There we go. Okay, I got faces on there. Oops. Huh. Well, I'm looking at these areas right here, trying to select them. Okay, I had it on lock for some reason. This button here locks it, which is not what I wanted. Let me select these areas right here. And those are, okay, so that's the edge down there. I don't want that to be extra light. These here, I don't want those to be extra light. Those are going to be light. I've got those already done. Those are going to be light. I've got those already done because they're on the top. And I think these are the ones I'm looking for. Okay, it's these over here I want to be a little bit lighter because they're facing up as well. So if I hop back over here to Photoshop, oh, wasn't paying attention. Where are those pieces? Okay, they're right below. I have this piece right here. So we'll select that. And we'll fill that with white as well. So that's going to make those a little bit lighter. And we wanted right along this edge. Again, I don't have to be too careful with this because we're not going to win any awards for our texture map right now. All we're after is something that works. I'm just patching this little piece of pink up right here that I want gone. Okay, and that's our box. I'm going to go back over here and with a very small brush, I'm in the background layer right now, I'm going to hit Control A, Control Shift C, and Control Shift V to make a copy of all layers and put that in the top layer. And now I'm just going back in here and getting rid of some of these these pink lines. There you go. This metal could use a little highlight too to make it stand out. Just getting rid of those pink lines. I don't want them in my model, obviously. And we could have turned these off along the way. I don't mind keeping them all the way to the end, but if you had wanted to save the Photoshop layers, you certainly could have done it that way. And then just turned them off. Go. A few more over here. We'll just get rid of them. I keep hitting the button on my Wacom tablet by accident. That's what's bringing up that brush menu. Okay, and if I, again, I'll make a new layer. We'll make this a color dodge layer. I'm going to paint back into this area with white just to make a highlight along that metal piece. And I'm not trying to keep the line straight, and then I'll drop the fill amount way down. You'll see it'll kind of pick up a little bit of a glimmer there along that metal and make it look like a little bit more of a seam, something like that. There we go. Another one over here. This is a good trick anytime you have a different type of material that you want to stand out. I'm also going to make a little bit of a crack down here in the wood. Make a new layer. And this layer is going to be black for my shadows. And I'm just going to lay a black right along that highlight. And it's going to look like a little bit of a seam or wear running through the wood. Just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing over here so it just looks like a little bit of a cast shadow. There we go. Okay. And the last thing I'm going to do, new layer, I'm just going to put a few stains, drips, whatever, just like they're coming out of where the handles are. They don't have to be neat. Same thing down here where my shadows might be. I just scrub these in, and then I'm going to use my blur brush to just kind of streak them down, just like this, because that handle's going to be there anyways. And same thing over here with these. We'll just kind of blur them in. So I'm using the smudge tool for that. And we'll just put a few more here. Just kind of scrub them in and just blur them on so they look like stains, smudges, whatever you want. Just like that. That one's a little too dark, so we'll lighten it up. Okay, and our box at this point is pretty much done. I'm going to go ahead and save the, just decided I didn't like that smudge. I'm going to go ahead and save this as both the Photoshop file, so this one. Actually, I'm going to save it first so you can see what we did as O2. And I'm going to go ahead and flatten it and save it as a Targa And this will be, we'll save it as TextO2 and 24-bit. Okay, we can close Photoshop at this point. I don't need to save any of those. Put my Wacom tablet down. Go back over to Max, and all we really have to do is, reload this guy. And we can just hop over here. This one, you can see there's my map. It hasn't been reloaded yet, so we'll reload it. There's my new map. Oh, actually it's not that one. It's a new map, isn't it? We renamed it. There's my map. You can see that's the newest one. And now it's on my box. Spin my box around and let's take a look at it. And there we go. You can see the highlights are being picked up down here that we added. This top part is a little bit lighter, which is what we were after. I'm just checking these corners here to make sure they came out okay. You can see there's our little wooden piece. It looks really just like the picture did. That looks good. Let's check out this corner. That corner looks good. Let's check out the insides. You can see everything looks pretty good. That highlight there is being picked up. It adds a little bit more depth to it. Makes it look a little bit better. I think the only thing I'd change is I've got some funky grain here on these sides. And I'm not sure what that would be. That's, which ones? These guys here? I think so. Yeah, these guys here have the grain running the wrong way. So I'll fix that real quick. And while Photoshop's working, I think I'll cut away here, I'll fix these up, I'll put it on a base, and we'll come back for a final look at it. So that's about it. I'll put this in a good little area here and I'll render it, and you can see that's what my final piece looks like. So it looks pretty real, and that's going to be about it for our little crate. But if you can do the crate, then you're ready to move on to the next thing, which will be the chariot. Very similar to